All right, this is another episode of the vetting process. Today we've got Johanna Hampton Dance running for City Council in Worcester. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to start by telling us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm from Worcester all of my life. I've lived in every part of Worcester. My parents migrated here from Boston when I was maybe about two-ish or so, I think, maybe even if that old. Um, I'm just a lifelong resident of the city. I'm trying to run, or I'm going to run for City Council District 2. Just because there needs to be some changes, there needs to be some inclusiveness of everyone in the district. And I feel like this district has a lot of potential and it just needs new eyes and a fresh, fresh ideas to come to it and kind of like, bring it to its full potential.
Absolutely. And so what inspired you to get into politics and inspired you to run for office?
Yeah, because I'm definitely not a politician. I guess the inspiration came from all of the turmoil, I guess I would call it, from how the city council currently is, how residents in the entire city feel like they're not being heard, even though they're participating in the city council meetings, they're petitioning, they're out there protesting. They're doing a whole bunch of things in the city just to be heard. And it seems like each council meeting that you tune into, even if you're calling in or you're WebExing in and you're stating your opinion, it doesn't matter. Their minds are already made up. They're actually not listening to the people. They've already made their decision. It's almost like, we'll go ahead and humor you and hear what you have to say, but it really doesn't matter. And so I decided to run because that needs to change.
That's absolutely right. And so sort of the elephant in the room for the past little while has been this pandemic. So I guess I have two questions here. Are you running against anyone for city council right now? And if so, how has the pandemic affected any campaigning you might be doing?
Just repeat the first part because you kind of cut out a little bit.
Sorry. So are you currently running against anyone for city council?
I am. So I'm running against the current city council for District 2, which would be Candy Merrill Carlson. And to answer your second part of your question, as far as the pandemic goes, we're in a time where social distancing is very, very important. And I want to respect everybody's social distancing, including my own. So maybe everything is kind of digital right now, which is good for me because that's my kind of era. And I'm okay with technology and doing things digitally as far as like fundraising, getting the word out. Of course, there will be some times where I will do some door knocking and things like that because that's also necessary, but only if it's safe to do. And if we do it, we have to do it in a safe manner.
Yeah. And I was doing a bit of research, reading about a bit of about you and why you're running and stuff like that. And policing was something that came up when I was doing my research.
Yeah.
So a topic I've talked about before on this show and something that sort of as a student, an issue for me. What are your thoughts on? Do you have any thoughts on like school resource officers and the idea of having police officers hosted in schools?
Yeah, I think it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. I think it's unjust. I think I'm a big believer in setting the tone. So if you have a police officer, as soon as you walk into a school, the tone has already been set. And it's not a good vibe. Nobody wants to walk in and see an armed police officer sitting at a front desk pointing you to the main office. It's just uncomfortable. And so imagine a student having to walk through those hallways and seeing armed police on a constant basis, or having to interact in a negative manner, within the schools because they're having a bad day. They were talking back, they were asleep in class, or whatever the case may be. That school resource officer is going to come and escort them to the main office. What if, and we've seen it time and time again via video on social media, police resource officers, the school resource officers are just kind of going above and beyond and being physical and doing unnecessary things. So I don't feel like they're necessary. When I went to school, we didn't have that. I'm sorry. We just didn't have that. If you acted up, you went to the principal's office. 9 out of 10, some of the kids didn't go directly to the office, but they made their way eventually and they dealt with the consequences. But it's nothing like picking up the phone in your classroom, because most classrooms have one, calling to the principal's office, so-and-so is on their way to your office, so they'll be waiting for them, and deal with it how it has always been dealt with. Why would you include police in education? Just, it doesn't mix.
I happen to agree with you on that one, especially, there's always kind of been an issue there, but like it's been brought to light a lot more recently, that the issue that like maybe we shouldn't be relying on police officers for these things or for those things when there are other people who are qualified to do the same thing, except better, subjectively speaking.
Yeah, it just adds to the, school to prison pipeline that it's just unnecessary. You're going to get in trouble in school. You're going to get arrested at school. You're going to go into the juvenile system, and it becomes a rinse and repeat process. So now you're back and forth to court because you talk back in class, and you're missing school because you have to be in court, because it's not like you just you get arrested at school and that's the end of it. No, there's court dates, there's continuances, there's all of these things that are going to impact your learning, your education, because you have to take time out of school to go do these things. Then you have social workers, probation officers, all of this stuff included in your life now because you had a bad day. Yeah, so, and it just becomes, it starts that way through the lower grades, and then you move through, and then some kids just end up dropping out because they don't want to deal with it. And then it leads them to now into adulthood, having criminal records in adulthood, and it's just a pattern that needs to be broken.
Absolutely. And sort of on the topic of schools, a lot of districts are doing schooling virtual for at least the first part of the year. With so many districts doing virtual schooling and thus more people, the students are staying at home more, do you think there needs to be more done, perhaps in advanced or overall, and that we need to make sure that students are safe in their homes, and we're not ripping some safe space away from them by making schooling virtual?
Right. So, yes, I agree with that. But if there were students that were in the school system prior and they were children known to have issues at home, then they should be following up with those students. There should be DCF that shows up. There should be, counselors from school that make appearances. And I'm not saying schedule appearances, pop up. I think that's necessary. I think there should be a lot more community involvement and grassroots involvement. Just stopping by, dropping off lunches, or making sure they have food for the week, making sure that there's some kind of supervision happening, even if it's a Zoom check-in. Like, if they can't physically be there, set a time. Listen, I want you to check in with me every 2 hours from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and kind of know what's happening and have a safe setting so they can sign in. Hey, I'm okay. Did you eat today? Whatever, they want to check on with that child. And that way, someone has some kind of communication. Someone knows what's going on with that child. Instead of just saying, here's your Chromebook. These are the assignments. We'll Zoom at this time. You know what I mean? have some kind of system set up so that everybody's accountable, everybody knows what's happening, and if there's something going on, if something seems out of the ordinary, they'll be able to tell.
Right. Something else I read was
I'm
the
sorry, my dog
importance.
is going off.
Something else I read about the importance to you of resources like the Boys and Earls Club and stuff like that, and those sort of after-school programs that help in the way that those things do. Have we been able to make sure that those type of programs and those resources have been available to students during the pandemic?
No. That's the problem. No. We need to kind of focus on supplying activities for these kids. I know Amanda, she goes by Amanda Lovely on Facebook. She is hosting kickball games on Sundays at 6:30 at various parks throughout the city. So people can come out, whether you're young, old, and have a good old-fashioned game of kickball, you know? And that's one example of the community kind of doing something for the youth and for the community in general that has not been done by the city. The city has not given anything. So, and you have places like, and the Boys and Girls Club is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm an Ionic Gap alumni. That was my boys club. But there's limited space, there's limited money, there's limited everything, and resources are low. So as far as activities and curriculums for the kids to do, there's really not much.
Right. And sort of an overall topic, do you think there should be more like non-punishment based outcomes for non-violent related drug crimes?
That one's tough. I would say it depends. It's circumstantial. If you're a first-time offender, I think that we need to look at the root of the problem. Not saying it was the first time you've done it, it's the first time you've gotten caught. We'll say that, okay? But there has to be a motive behind the movement. So I think in kind of finding out what somebody's situation is, and instead of condemning them, helping them to get out of that situation, providing jobs, providing job training, skills training, schooling, whatever's necessary to get this person out of this lifestyle. We do a lot on saving the addict, but not enough on saving the dealer. And, it's like sometimes people are choosing that lifestyle not because it's glamorized or fun, but because that's their survival. And we need to come together as a community and figure out how we can change that lifestyle, what we can offer so that they don't have to do that. That will, if they wanted to do a war on drugs, that's how you would start, not with prison. You would try to figure out why. Okay, so like I was saying, yeah, I think that there needs to be jobs, training, schooling, some kind of programs that people can get interactive with to know their options and know that they don't have to use drugs or even catch cases behind drugs if they're not selling drugs to actually make money the right way.
And yeah, my next question here is plowing, like snow plowing, was something I heard about. My dad works in Worcester. He has complained about their plowing a lot. It's an issue. Um, and I guess two questions there. What would be a better solution to the current plowing problem? What would be a solution to that? And do you think it's part of a larger problem that with keeping Worcester clean as a whole?
I think it's part of a larger problem, honestly. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of where you live in the city. I think it's a combination of how each councilman for their district handles their district, where they allot their money to. I think pretty much that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's, if you live in the city and you live on a main street, you're okay. If you live on a side street or anywhere that's like off of a hill, you'll see that, you know, the main hill, like I live off of Belmont. Belmont will be clear, but I also live across the street from an elementary school. And, you know, it's a tight squeeze and you have a parking band. So you have school buses, you have cars that are parked, and 9 out of 10, you're like plowed in. So you have to still dig yourself out and throw the snow back in the street, you know, and hopefully when you get home, nobody stole your parking spot. But then you have streets like East Kendall, which is off of Rodney Street. It's a smaller street, still a slight hill that leads into Eastern Ave. And at the end of that street on Eastern Ave, it's houses. So, you know, just speaking to residents in that area, last winter, a school bus slid all the way down that street because it was icy. It was not plowed. It was not sanded or salted. And I was uncertain if there were kids on the bus because they couldn't tell, but I know everybody's heart sank when they see that slide, you know, and the only reason it stopped is because it was kind of clear on Eastern Ave, which is another street that is often neglected. So, yeah, I think snow removal, for a plan on snow removal, what I would do is in these summer months, we would be stocking up in these summer months because we know the winters here in Massachusetts are unforgiving. We know that people have to work. We know that emergency respondents have to get to people who need them. And it's hard to do on these streets that are just not clear. So yeah, it does need to be addressed.
And absolutely. That's all of the main questions I have. Now I have a little bit of a lightning round. So I have some overall topics here, and in around 2 sentences or less. You said you're not a politician. I've interviewed politicians. They love to go over that. But in around 2 sentences or less, give your overall thoughts on these topics. Topic number one is climate change.
Climate change is important. I don't feel like getting burned up by the sun. We need something to help with climate change, definitely.
Topic number two, the woman's right to choose.
I'm a woman. I believe it is my right to choose and every other woman's right to choose. I'm not mad at men, but, you know, stay in your lane, guys.
Topic number three is immigration.
Immigration. America is the melting pot. And if you took away or did not allow immigrants into the country, then it wouldn't be the melting pot. It'd be just bland.
Yeah.
We need immigrants.
Topic number four is something we talked about a little bit before, reforming the policing system.
Definitely needs overhaul. Whether it's training, body cams, new police officers, new police chief, and probably some new union members.
Topic number five on that sort of on a semi-similar note, the Black Lives Matter movement.
I'm also a woman of color. So yes, it does affect me, Black Lives Matter movement. I'm all for it. I'm not for the, if it's an organization like a business type, I'm for the movement. I'm for equality and equity in the Black Lives Matter movement.
Absolutely. Next topic, LGBT rights.
Oh yes, people are people, you know? It's the rainbow all day long. Everybody matters, and that's the bottom line, you know? And just like we fight for people of color, BIPOC, and rights. We fight for LGBTQ as well.
Um, Next topic, health care or universal health care or anything along those lines.
Oh, we need universal health care. Listen, right now, my job, I pay a premium. I pay co-pays. I need help. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who need help. We need universal health care.
Final topic, arguably hardest one of all. Which flavor of ice cream is the best?
Vanilla, hands down.
Really? I think that's only the second time ever I've gotten that answer. Vanilla.
Really? Because, vanilla, you can dress it up however you want. You
That's
can
true.
do anything with vanilla. Chocolate is just chocolate. You can't really do much with chocolate. Strawberry already has a flavor, so you don't really want to mix.
That's a good point. I didn't really think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, vanilla, you can do anything you want with it.
Well, I think that's everything I've got here. Thank you so much for coming on and answering a few questions.
Thank you so much for having me, and I apologize for my dogs. Well, one dog. She's crazy. She's going through it.
It's all right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
thank you for having me.
of course. Thank you for coming on.